Hello and welcome. If you're joining us for the first time, we've been studying through the Bible looking at the heroes of the faith. Those men and women who not only believed in the one and only God, but listened to his voice and obeyed him. That is a sign of a true hero of the faith. We've got a wonderful hero that we're going to be studying this time, Joseph, the great-grandson of Abraham. Now, when Joseph was a young man, he was given a couple of visions by God. The first one, he was having this vision that he and his 11 brothers were in the wheat field gathering the grain and tying them all into sheaves. And then all the 11 brother sheaves bowed down to Joseph. And then he had another dream. And up in the sky, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars all bowed down to Joseph's stars. Oh, his brothers hated him for those dreams that he had and made a plan by which they would capture him and sell him into slavery into Egypt. They told their father that a wild animal had eaten him. Now, they had planned for the worst to happen to Joseph in Egypt. But remember, he was a man of faith, and God had other plans for him. He rose him up in Egypt to such an extent that he became second in charge of Egypt, just under the Pharaoh. He had come up with a plan to save the land from a terrible drought, and it worked. And in time, even the land of Israel, where Joseph's brothers and his fathers were, they were starving for food. And so they came back to Egypt begging for food. And they stood before this great man, Joseph, but they didn't recognize him. And they bowed down before him. In time, Joseph revealed himself to his brothers. He arranged to have his father come to Egypt, away from the terrible starvation in his land, and he ended his days in Egypt. Now, there's a wonderful passage at the end of the book of Genesis that talks about Joseph and his 11 brothers and how they feared that with the death of their father, Joseph would then finally take vengeance on them. In Genesis 50 and verse 19, where we read, "But Joseph said to them, 'Do not be afraid, for am I in God's place? As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring out this present result, to preserve many people alive. So therefore, do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your little ones.' So he comforted them and spoke kindly to them." You can see why Joseph was a hero of faith. He didn't seek to take vengeance on his brothers, but he showed love, the love of God to them. You see, what the brothers had planned to be a wicked act, God, in his power and his majesty, turned around and made it an act of benevolence, an act of kindness, and an act of love. And Joseph, as the man of faith that he was, wasn't about to turn this around and make it a time of wickedness. No, he continued that benevolence, mercy, and love. Well, we've come to the end of our time now, and I thank you for your time with us. Come back and join us next time. Goodbye for now.